On this beautiful day of Krishna's descent, Krishna consenting to enter Sri Aurobindo and fuse with Sri Aurobindo, we'll read, we'll listen to Mother's experiences with Krishna, how Krishna used to move in the ashram, in the meditation hall, Mother's interactions with Krishna. We'll start with Sri Aurobindo's poem on Krishna. At last, I find a meaning of soul's birth into this universe terrible and sweet. I, who have felt the hungry heart of earth, aspiring beyond heaven to Krishna's feet, aspiring beyond heaven to Krishna's feet. I have seen the beauty of immortal eyes and heard the passion of the lover's flute and known a deathless ecstasy's surprise and sorrow in my heart forever mute, and sorrow in my heart forever mute. Nearer and nearer now the music draws. Life shudders with a strange felicity. All nature's a wide enamored pause, hoping her Lord to touch, to clasp, to be. All nature is a wide enamored pause, hoping her Lord to touch, to clasp, to be. For this one moment lived the ages past, the world now throbs, fulfilled in me at last. The world now throbs, fulfilled in me at last. We'll move on to Mother directly telling us in her very words her contact with Krishna or Krishna's contact with the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. I'm reading from Mother's works. You know that during pujas, these goddesses come all the time. They don't enter the body and tie themselves to it, but they do come and manifest. Well, this time, I think it must have been for last year's puja, Durga came. She always arrives a few days in advance and remains in the atmosphere. She is present like this gesture as if Durga were walking up and down with the Mother. I was in touch with her during my meditations upstairs, and this new power in the body was in me then as it is in me now. How to put it? I made her participate in this concept of surrender. Truly, it was truly beautiful. I knew how it was with her because I remember the days when Sri Aurobindo was here and I used to go downstairs to give meditations to the people assembled in the hall. There's a ledge above the pillars there where all the gods used to sit. Shiva, Krishna, Lakshmi, the Trimurti, all of them, the little ones, the big ones. They all used to come regularly every day to attend these meditations. So all of us have visited Pondicherry, the meditation room, and in the very space Mother is talking about, these gods, Krishna, Shiva, Lakshmi, Trimurti, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, the big ones, little ones, all of them came there sitting on the ledge while the meditation was going on. These gods were interested. What is the play which is happening? The Divine Mother has descended on the earth. Come, let's go. we can also see what she's doing. They don't have that opportunity, so they have to come down to witness it. So Mother continues. But they didn't have this kind of adoration for the Supreme. They, fully aware of his own they had no use for that concept. That is the adoration for the Supreme. Each one in his own mode of being was fully aware of his own eternal divinity, and each one knew as well that he could represent all the others. They felt they were a kind of community, but they had none of those qualities that the psychic gives. No deep love, no deep sympathy, no sense of union. They had only the sense of their own divinity, except for Krishna. In 1926, I had begun a sort of overmental creation. That is, I had brought the overmind down into matter here on earth. I had brought the overmind down into matter here on earth. That is the time Mother was using the sadhaks, and for each one she manifested a Godhead in them. The overmental creation she got right into the earth atmosphere. I asked all these gods to incarnate, to identify themselves with the body. Well, with my own very eyes, I saw Krishna, who had always been in rapport with Sri Aurobindo, consent to come down into his body. We all know Sri Aurobindo in Alipur jail, how he was protected and guided by Sri Krishna. He says, Sri Krishna handed over the Gita to me, and the very words of the Gita, Sri Aurobindo was experiencing. And we all know the Vasudeva experience, where Sri Aurobindo saw Sri Krishna everywhere, in the pillars of the prison, in the jailers, in the blanket, in that coarse blanket. He felt it was the warmth, the rapture, the love of Sri Krishna. That's why Mother is saying Sri Aurobindo has already a good rapport with Sri Krishna. It is only Sri Krishna who consented to come down into this creation. Mother has made this overmental creation come down, and Sri Krishna, unlike the other gods, he said, yes, I will come down. And what was the most eligible, best suited, perfected body on earth to receive Sri Krishna was none other than Sri Aurobindo. So he came. He consented to come down into his body. It was on 24th November. And that was the beginning of Mother. And that's the very day Sri Aurobindo made Mother stand in the forefront to lead. And he would support from behind, because his work, as indicated by the divine, he knows why he's here on earth. That has to be fulfilled, that is to manifest the supermind. So he will do that work in the background, pulling down the supermind for all of us, and put Mother in the forefront. Mother as the leader for mankind, Mother as the leader for everybody in the ashram to follow. And then the sadhakas. Yes, in fact, I wanted to ask you, what is this realization of 1926? It was this: Krishna consented to descend into Sri Aurobindo's body, to be fixed there. There is a great difference, you understand, between incarnating, being fixed in a body, and simply acting as an influence that comes and goes and moves about. The gods are always moving about. It's plain that we ourselves, in our inner beings, come and go and act in 100 or 1,000 places at once. There is a difference between just coming down occasionally and accepting to be permanently fixed to a body, between a permanent influence and a permanent presence. These things have to be experienced. But in what sense did this realization mark a turning point in Sri Aurobindo's sadhana? Mother answers this very beautifully. Sadhak is asking, oh, Sri Krishna descended, what a big turning point in Sri Aurobindo's sadhana. Mother says, no, the phenomenon was important for the creation. For creation, for the next level of evolution, Sri Krishna's descent into Sri Aurobindo is important. It is not like a very big personal goal that Sri Aurobindo has achieved. It is for us, for the creation to progress. This had to be that Sri Krishna had to come down into Sri Aurobindo. And Sri Aurobindo in one place says, it is the Krishna's yoga that we are carrying on in the ashram. Where Krishna left, I am taken forward from there. He himself, Sri Aurobindo himself, was rather indifferent to it. This is important for the creation. But I did tell him about it. It was at that time he decided to stop dealing with people and retire to his room. So he called everyone together for one last meeting. Before then, he used to go out on the veranda every day to meet and talk with all those who came to see him. I was living in the inner rooms and I was seeing no one. He was going out onto the veranda, seeing everyone, receiving people, speaking, discussing. I saw him only when he came back inside. After a while, I too began having meditations with people, had begun a sort of over-mental creation to make each god descend into a being. There was an extraordinary upward curve. Well, I was in contact with these beings, and I told Krishna, because I always was seeing him around Sri Aurobindo. When Mother was doing this, she was requesting all the gods to come down. See, I'm bringing the over-mental down to humanity, down to the earth. And it was very obvious for her because she used to see Sri Krishna always around Sri Aurobindo. So she just approached very casually Sri Krishna. Will you come? Will you descend into a body here for the next evolution? This is very fine, but what I want is a creation of earth. You must incarnate, he said. Yes. Then I saw him. It's a conversation with Krishna. She asks him, he says, this is all very fine. But what I want now is a creation on earth. You must incarnate. Mother is telling Sri Krishna. He said, yes. Then I saw him. I saw him with my own eyes, inner eyes of course, join himself to Sri Aurobindo. Then I went to Sri Aurobindo's room and told him, here's what I have seen. Yes, I know, he replied. Mother laughs. That's fine. I have decided to retire to my room and you will take charge of the people. You take charge. Then he called everyone together. He sat down, he had me sit next to him and said, I called you here to tell you that as of today, I am withdrawing for purposes of sadhana and Mother will take charge of everyone. You should address yourself to her. She will represent me and she will do all the work. At one place, Mother says, Mother and Sri Aurobindo's consciousness are so united. With him, I am unmanifest. With him, without me, he is unmanifest. So they two just have to be for creation. These people had always been very intimate with Sri Aurobindo. Once Sri Aurobindo made this declaration, so she's saying the reaction of the others. They have been so intimate with Sri Aurobindo. And they asked, why? He replied, it will be explained to you. I had no intention of explaining anything. I left the room with him. But Datta, an English woman, she began speaking. She said that Sri Aurobindo, speaking through her, and she explained that Krishna is incarnated and that Sri Aurobindo was now going to do an intensive sadhana for the descent of the supermind, that it meant Krishna's adherence to the supramental descent upon earth, that Sri Krishna has agreed to that supramental descent upon earth and he is willing to participate in it. As Sri Aurobindo would be too occupied to deal with people, he had put me in charge and I would be doing all the work. Most of us in the ashram circles, we always associate, yes, that part, Sri Krishna descending into Sri Aurobindo, he accepting to move on with all of us to reach the supermind. But this important moment of mother, like how we all love and adore and feel her, it's because of that day, because Sri Aurobindo made her stand in front of us, gave mother to all of us, that now we can really be in her protection and love her. Moving on, it was only, how can I put it, a participation from Krishna. It made no difference for Sri Aurobindo personally. It was a formation from the past that accepted to participate in the present creation. It was a formation from the past. Sri Krishna, the previous avatar, accepting to participate in what this avatar is doing. Nothing more. It was a descent of the Supreme some time back. Now descent of the Supreme who was some time back, now consenting to participate in the new manifestation. Shiva, on the other hand, refused. He said, I will come only when you have finished your work. I will not come into the world as it is now, but I am ready to help. She again repeats, it was Sri Krishna who consented to descend into Sri Aurobindo's body to be fixed here. There is a difference, you understand, between incarnating, being fixed, simply acting as an influence. Reading this, I was connected to some lines in Savitri. So there are these lines which says, the mother of all godheads and all strengths, who mediatrix binds earth to the supreme. Our mother, who is the mother of all godheads and all strengths. She is that bridge who binds us, who takes us to Sri Aurobindo, who takes us to Sri Krishna. There's one more line. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. Many high gods dwelt in one beautiful home. We'll read more what Mother says, her intimate experiences with Krishna. I was doing my japa, walking up and down with my eyes wide open. Then suddenly Krishna came, a gold Krishna, all golden, in all golden light that filled the whole room. I was walking, this golden Krishna came. He filled the whole room with his golden light. I was walking, but I could not even see the windows or the rug any longer, for this golden light was everywhere with Krishna at its center. And it must have lasted at least 15 minutes. He was dressed in the same clothes in which he normally portrayed when he dances. He was all light, all dancing. You see, he's saying, you see, I will be there this evening during the darshan. That was the day of February 29, 1960, exactly the anniversary of the golden day, the day when the supramental light descended. So he's telling, I know you have some, program, a darshan in the evening. I am going to be present. I'll be there this evening. And suddenly, The chair I used for darshan came into the room. Krishna climbed upon it, and his eyes twinkled mischievously as if to say, I will be there, you see, and there'll be no room for you. The chair which you are going to sit, I am going to sit, and there will not be any place for you, he's telling the mother. And as he's describing, mother in her inner vision, she sees her chair and she sees Krishna sitting on that chair. When I came down that evening for distribution, at first I was annoyed. I had said that I didn't want anybody in the hall precisely because I wanted to establish an atmosphere of concentration, the immobility of the spirit. But there were at least 30 people in there. Those who had decorated the hall, 30 of them stirring about here and there, a mass of little vibrations. And before I could even say, scat, I had hardly taken my seat. Someone put the tray of medals on my lap and they started filling past. Before mother could see her place and sit, somebody just handed over a tray, put it on her lap. And what is surprising is that in a flash, no one was there any longer. No one. You understand? I was gone. Perhaps I was everywhere. But in fact, I am always everywhere. I am always conscious of being everywhere at the same time. Though normally there is the sense of the body, a physical center, but that evening there was no more center. Nothing, no more, no one, not even the sense that there was no one, nothing. I was gone. There was indeed something handing out the medals. So it was Sri Krishna who was handing out the medals. It was not the mother. It was something which was handing out the medals, which felt the joy giving the medals, the joy of receiving it, the joy of mutually looking at each other. It was simply the joy of the action taking place, the joy of looking, the joy everywhere. But me, nothing, no one, gone. Only later, afterwards, did I see what happened. For everything I had disappeared. Even the higher mind that understands and organizes things, that also was gone. And this lasted the entire distribution. Mother's consciousness spread out everywhere. She's not attached to the physical body, the physical center. That something, that luminous consciousness which is there in everything has come out, which has been hiding, that has come out. And that here we can say it's Sri Krishna. He is doing everything. He is taking charge. He is handing the medals. He is taking the joy in receiving, giving, everything. And this lasted the entire distribution. Only then the body had gone back upstairs to the room did the consciousness return. Then this line of Savitri came to me. To annul thy oneself so that only the Supreme Lord may be. To annul oneself so that only the Supreme Lord may be. We'll read one more incident. So mother sitting, playing her organ. Mother sits at the organ, plays, then turns halfway around on her stool and says, I shut my eyes, but then sometimes my fingers make mistakes. They slip because I see with other eyes. When I do see with those other eyes, the music comes better. When I open my eyes, it doesn't come. It's always with eyes closed that I hear clearly. But then my fingers sometimes slip. All the time. It comes and it comes all the time. Mother shapes great waves. Someone is playing to me. So if my hands are absolutely docile, it goes well. But the slightest hesitation can make my fingers slip and hit a false note. Right now, it's wide open and flowing. I don't know who comes. Last year, There was a conflict between Krishna on one side. He came, I saw him. And some kind of spirit coming from Shiva. Krishna was playing, and the two of them were constantly quarreling. Mother's playing on an organ. Krishna, through the flute, is influencing mother's fingers. Shiva, also, the damru, is influencing mother's fingers. And they are both quarreling. Both are like children of the mother. Mother has to use my hand, my music. One wanted it to be like this. The other wanted to be with roseate colorations. Music itself, mother is giving this color to it, roseate colorations. And the other wanted all blues and silvers. And then suddenly, as I was playing, in fact, it was the last time I played and started off entirely with Krishna and was going quite well. But suddenly there came a blow of fist. I completely lost my balance because these two were quarreling. Shiva came in between and he wanted to play. So all these beautiful incidents with Sri Krishna. Again, this very, very beautiful. She talks about how Sri Krishna used to walk with her and how after a long day she'd want to rest and she would just lay her head on Krishna's shoulder. In the past, when Sri Aurobindo was there, I lived in that house which is now called the dormitory annex. There was a large veranda and I used to walk up and down on that veranda. Sri Aurobindo was in his room working and I would walk alone. But I was never alone. Krishna was always there. Krishna, the God Krishna, as he is known, but taller, more beautiful, and not with that ridiculous blue, that stale blue, not like that. And we always walked up and down together. We would walk together. He was just a little behind, almost against the nape of the neck and the shoulders, slightly behind the mother, near her neck. I was a little in front, as if my head was on his shoulder, and he would walk. I didn't have the feeling of my head resting on his shoulder, but that's how it was. And we would walk, we would communicate. That lasted more than a year, every day. Then I ended. Afterwards, I saw him from time to time. When he moved to the new house, I saw him. Sometimes at night, when I was tired, he would come and I would sleep on his shoulder. But I knew very well that it was a way Sri Aurobindo was showing himself. Then when I came here to mother's present room, Sri Aurobindo had left and I began walking up and down while reciting my mantra. Sri Aurobindo came and he took the same place as Krishna. I would walk and he was there. We would walk together day after day, and it was becoming so concrete, so marvelous that I started thinking, why look after all these people and things? I want to remain in this forever. He caught my thought and he said, I am not coming anymore. And he stopped. I said, very well. And I started my mantra to the Supreme Lord. I tried a lot to have him come and walk with me, but in no other form but himself. And the force, the presence, everything was there. And I would feel him more and more clearly, staying like that, just behind me, impersonal. For a few days, I've had a sort of feeling that I was close to something. And yesterday, for half an hour, a presence, an absolutely concrete presence. And it is he who told me, first Krishna, then Sri Aurobindo, then I. The Supreme Presence himself, who wears the form of Krishna, Sri Aurobindo, and he comes without those forms. I. Reading this, I was recalling one about a sadhika, Vasanti Di. She's still in Pondicherry. She's over 90 plus years. She had a beautiful association with Sri Krishna. Even as a child, as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old girl, she used to recognize a small boy who'd come to her, play with her, walk with her, take her to school. And she would think that everybody else is also looking at that guy, but it is looking at that small boy. But it was so real, so tangible. Like she treated him like a friend, and she didn't know that Sri Krishna is giving her that pleasure, that delight. And he used to come every other day, play with her. And then she was growing a little older. For many years, it continued. Then he said, as you grow older, you will want to connect with me more and more, and you'll come to a place and you'll want to surrender yourself. I will take a different form then. And that it was revealed later to her as life progressed, and that she came to know as Sri Aurobindo. She used to say when she was also reading, trying to read Life Divine, she used to go on reading, and Sri Aurobindo would sit beside her and read with her, help her understand and read with her. Very, very beautiful experiences. Like Sri Aurobindo says, it's Sri Krishna's yoga that it's carried out. And he says somewhere, he is my double. And read some of those direct words of Sri Aurobindo. He says, if you reach Krishna, you reach the divine. If you give yourself to him, you give yourself to me. If you give yourself to Sri Krishna, you are giving yourself to me. He's writing to another sadhak. The sadhak is saying, I have a struggle between to worship you or to Sri Krishna or the mother, I don't know. The struggle in you between bhakti for Krishna and the sense of divinity of the mother is quite unnecessary, for the two things are one and go perfectly together. Bhakti for Krishna and divinity of the mother, sense of divinity towards the mother, are the same. They go one hand in hand. It is he who has brought you to the mother, and it is by adoration of her that you will reach him. He is here in the ashram, and it is his work that is being done in this yoga. One day, however, he expressed his difficulty in reconciling his adoration of Sri Krishna and his surrender to Sri Aurobindo. This Champaklaji is saying about one of his friends who had a difficulty. Whom do I follow, Sri Krishna or Sri Aurobindo? Sri Aurobindo told him, there is no difference between Sri Krishna and me. And mother, we know, when she came to India, she used to get visions of Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo inviting her to collaborate, the dual avatars, their play in this earth. And she used to call that figure she used to see as a man clad in white dhoti as Krishna. And the first time in March 29th, 1914, she recognized, saw Sri Krishna, saw Sri Aurobindo and said, yes, you came to me as Sri Krishna. And she didn't have an association of Sri Krishna, the Lord of the Gita, the avatar and all of that. But her inner voice told her, it is Krishna. And she saw, yes, I found my Krishna, that is in Sri Aurobindo. So this is the association, how Sri Krishna is playing, how the avatar of the past, the creation of the past, is willingly participating in Sri Aurobindo's earth. Saying this phrase, I'm recalling something else. There was a sadhak called Medananda. He used to have out-of-body experiences. And he used to just enjoy going different places, different planets, meeting new things, gaining experiences. Once he was just lost in that. He traveled to many, many different places. Then he wanted to get back to his body. He was wondering how to get back to the body. And he saw a few beings, different beings. And he's describing, I belong to something, round like the earth, and this planet, it looks like this and all that. Then suddenly he recollects and he says, Sri Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo. Then this being says, oh, you belong to Sri Aurobindo's earth. We will take you there. We will show you the way back. So it is Sri Aurobindo's earth that we are all living. His breath, His love is there in everything. I'll just close by Sri Aurobindo's Vasudeva experiences in jail, like how he narrates in Uttarpara's speech. I looked at the jail that secluded me from men. It was no longer by its high walls that I was imprisoned. No, it was Vasudeva who surrounded me. I walked under the branches of the tree in front of the cell, but it was not the tree. I knew it was Vasudeva. It was Sri Krishna, whom I saw standing there, holding over me his shade. I looked at the bars of my cell, the very grating that did duty for a door, and again I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was guarding and standing sentry over me. Or I lay on the coarse blankets that were given for me for a couch and felt the arms of Sri Krishna around me. The arms of my friend and lover. This was the first use of the deeper vision he gave me. I lay on the coarse blankets that were given for a couch and felt the arms of Sri Krishna around me. The arms of my friend and lover. This was the first use of the deeper vision he gave me. I looked at the prisoners in the jail, the thieves, the murderers, the swindlers, and I looked at them. I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana, whom I found in these darkened souls and misused bodies. Amongst these thieves and dacoits, there were many who put me to shame by their sympathy, their kindness, the humanity triumphant over such adverse circumstances. When the case opened in the lower court and we were brought before the magistrate, I was followed by the same insight. He said to me, when you were cast into jail, did you not hear? Did not your heart fail, and did you not cry out to me? Where is thy protection? Look at the magistrate. Look now at the prosecuting counsel. I looked. It was not the magistrate whom I saw. I saw Vasudeva. It was Narayana who was sitting there on the bench. I looked at the prosecuting counsel. It was not the counsel for the prosecution that I saw. It was Sri Krishna who sat there. It was my lover and friend who sat there and smiled. Now do you fear? He said. I am in all men, and I overrule their actions and their words. My protection is still with you, and you shall not fear. This case which is brought against you, leave it in my hands. It is not for you. It was not for the trial that I brought you here, but for something else. The case itself is only a means for my work and nothing more. I heard it again and again. Always I listened to the voice within. I am guiding, therefore fear not. I am guiding, therefore fear not. Turn to your own work for which I brought you to jail. And when you come out, remember never to fear, never to hesitate. Remember that it is I who am doing this, not you or any other. Therefore, whatever clouds may come, whatever dangers and sufferings, whatever difficulties, whatever impossibilities, there is nothing impossible, nothing difficult. I am in the nation and its uprising. I am Vasudeva. I am Narayana. And what I will shall be, not what others will. What I choose to bring about, no human power can slay. No human power can stay. What I will shall be, not what others will. What I choose to bring about, no human power can stay. Just for a few minutes, we'll be in silence, the rapture and embrace of Sri Krishna, Sri Aurobindo, and the Mother.